This is Wes Moss, Money Matters Live, and today use this income formula to figure out how much you can spend in retirement. It's easy, but retirement planning isn't easy, and the more you talk to Wall Street, the more frightful or fearful you get about actually heading into retirement. How much money do you need to save? What if you have a couple different income sources? Well, I'm going to go through a quick formula today that will answer that question for you, and then it'll also solve for how much really you should have kind of at the start of retirement as one big lump sum, because that one big lump sum is going to also generate more income for you as well. But it's not the only piece of the equation. So let's go through this formula. How does this work? I call this formula filling the gap. So we call this the FTG, filling the gap, and we're really solving for the gap. You know, the gap is how much, the gap is how much you need to save in retirement to generate income from your investments to go on top of a pension or Social Security for you and or your spouse, or maybe you have some part-time income, maybe you have some rental income, but you've got a couple of income sources coming to you, hopefully, in retirement. But what if it doesn't cover everything? Well, that's where your investments come in, and let's figure that formula out right here today. Let's look at it this way. So filling the gap really is this. Filling the gap, if we were to do a math equation, it is really your income sources. So it's your income, your steady income streams, plus X, which is this blank number. This is kind of the amount you're getting off of your investments. We're solving for that. And then, of course, you need to net this out for taxes. You've got to net this out. That equals, this formula equals what you can spend. Pretty simple. So we need to figure out what we can spend, and that's the question mark. We've got to solve, we've got to fill in our income sources right here, and we've got to solve for how much money we need to save, because we're going to take a certain percentage off that when we're in retirement. Let's do what I would think is a pretty typical example in America to try to figure this out. Let's say you have Social Security for you. Social Security, we'll call that 1. And then there's Social Security for your spouse. So we'll call that Social Security 2. And now let's say you have a small pension. Okay. And then that, but we're trying to get to the very first question mark before we do any of this. We need to figure out spending. So what do I want to spend? Well, let's say I would like to spend in retirement, I need $5,000. Let's say I need that per month, $5,000 per month. Well, I've got to remember, I've got to adjust that for taxes. Let's say you have an average tax rate of around 16.5% when you're in retirement, all in. The reason I use that number is it kind of gets us to an easy gross number of $6,000. So if I want to spend $5,000 in net, I need to gross $6,000 to net $5,000 per month, right? Per month. This is how this works. So if I want to spend $5,000, I need to gross $6,000 a month with a 16.5% tax rate that effectively nets me down to $5,000 a month. So I need $6,000. That's what we're solving for here in this formula that we just talked about. So my spending goal is $6,000. My spending goal is $6,000. That's what we're solving for. All right. I'm going to get Social Security from, let's say, you, Social Security from your spouse, maybe a small pension, and then the rest has to come from investment income, and that's the gap we're solving for. So let's say your Social Security is $1,500 a month, and your spouse's Social Security is $1,000 a month, and one of you gets a pension of $1,000 a month as well. So now we've got $3,500 per month. All right. We need to get to $6,000, right? So in order to get to $6,000, our delta here equals $2,500, $50,000 in savings in order to get there. So lower percentage rate of return, so 750,000 times 4%, $750,000 times 0.4%, it's $30,000. That's the number here. So that is what we're trying to solve for. So that is the gap. The gap here is that extra $30,000 or that extra $2,500 a month. So you're filling the gap, and the gap equals $30K a year, or that's a year, or $2,500 a month. At 4% conservatively, that means you need to save $750K. At 5% a year rate of return in retirement, you need $600K in savings. And this is the big question mark that so many investors are trying to figure out. How much do I really need to save? Well, Wall Street tells you need $1 million or $2 million or $3 million just to be comfortable. Well, I went through a really, what I could say, pretty conservative Social Security number, $1,500 and $1,000 to $2,500 a month for Social Security. That's actually a relatively low number. To fill and then a pension of $1,000 a month, which I find a lot of folks, if they've worked for 40 years, husband and a wife, somebody maybe has a small pension from somewhere. And then in the end, we've got to save between $600,000 and $750,000 in order to fill the rest of that gap. Remember, we solved for $6,000 in gross income. That's $6,000 in gross income, $6,000 gross, right? Minus taxes, you end up with $5,000 a month. And oh, guess what? By the way, that's the happy retiree spending number, or close to a happy retiree spending number. Imagine if you have no mortgage, which is another happy retiree trait. Let's say by the time you get to retirement, you don't have a mortgage. You figured out a way to pay that off by the time you stop working. Now you have no mortgage. Your biggest healthcare, or your biggest expense is healthcare if you're pre-65. It goes down at 65 once you get Medicare. But imagine having $5,000 a month for the rest of your life without a mortgage. Remember too, the 4% number here, if you end up with this $750,000 number, is also designed to be able to ratchet up every single year for inflation. 5% number, it's a little harder to do that. So just some thoughts. There's a lot of complication around figuring out how much exactly you need to save for in retirement, all your different income sources. The way I look at this is just fill the gap. You've got a couple different income sources. You need X amount, how much to fill the spending gap. In this example I just showed, it's $2,500 a month. It means you need $600,000 to $750,000 saved to generate that $2,500 a month or $30,000 per year. Not easy to do. It's a lot of money to save over time, but if you start doing this in your 30s or 40s, you've got a lot of years to accomplish this and invest for that period of time when you want to be in the position to retire, not necessarily retire, especially if you still like working. With that, thank you. Again, Wes Moss. Find us on YouTube at our YouTube channel, Wes Moss Money Matters. Subscribe to that. Again, Wes Moss Money Matters. We continue to do updates like this. Feel free to write in if there are other topics you would like me to cover that you've been thinking about in retirement, and we're happy to do so. Also find us at wesmoss.com, WESMOSS.com. Those emails in the upper right-hand corner come straight to me and my team here in Atlanta. With that, have a profitable rest of your day.